Hey Adirondack Club community, it's Colin bringing you this week's Coach's Corner. This week we're going to talk about sport-specific training. We get questions about that quite a bit, and we get asked if we do that as part of our training. And when you dig down into what sport-specific training is, it's anything that improves your athlete's fitness and performance. Now, when coaches and parents are asking about this, I think they're looking for us to be specifically mimicking the movements that are on the field and loading those up with maybe weight, or loading them up with bands and having them go through very, very specific patterns that are related to a baseball player or a softball player or along those lines. And there is some benefit to some of that training, but for most of our athletes, they're just too young. That's getting very sport specific is definitely something you'd see in a advanced athlete. Somebody who's been training for multiple years and is playing at a very high level. We can get a little more, we'll call it fancy, with their training. What our athletes, and most of the athletes we work with that respond really well, is we call it athlete-specific training. Okay, they need to jump, they need to be able to rotate, they need to be able to have core stability, they need to be able to sprint, change direction, break down. And we train the whole athlete, and we try to make the movement patterns your athlete is going through as big as possible. If we get very sport specific training and we're working with a softball player and we're really cutting down on their movement window, and we're going to be working in this little movement window, well, there's all this type of movement that a coach can use to make them be a better a sport coach can use to make them a better athlete in their sport. So when we look at athlete-specific training, we're just trying to make them as athletic as possible and expose them to many different movements that they may not even get in their sport to help reduce injury, but also open up their we call our motor map of all the things that they can do. So all this is movement that they can work around. So when we look at sport-specific training versus athlete-specific training, when a lot of times we use sport-specific cueing and sport-specific, tying that into what they do on their sport so that they can understand why they're doing certain things. But for every single athlete, it's different. So if we had like a medicine ball throw where we're throwing against the wall, we're going to drive that far hip. A baseball player uses that, a softball player uses that, a lacrosse player, a soccer player. They all use that motion, but we can talk to them how they use it in their sport context in our training environment. But it's definitely not necessarily a move that is for one athlete. Now, a baseball player, softball player may get a little bit more out of that move because of their movement menu is a little tighter on field, but a soccer player, a lacrosse player, a hockey player could all use that same move. So there you go. When we look at our athletes program, we want to make them as athletic as possible. We want to train the big major movement patterns, and then from there, after they put in quite a bit of training, maybe a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, then we can get to loading maybe some of their specific patterns and getting really more closer to the sport. But at first, they need to build that base, and that base needs to get very big, and then we can get fancy. And a lot of times we let our sport coaches take care of that because they're the professionals there. They're seeing it in their sport and how it ties in with the rest of their game plan. So I hope this little coaching corner helped you with the difference between sport-specific training and athlete-specific training. Mouthful there. If you want to get your athlete in for training, let us know. We're here. Love to train with your athlete. Reach out to me. We'll see you soon.